Fun times.
So are we hot right now?
We are hot, yeah.
We're hot?
You're hot. I just want to throw that out there. No, that's just... All right, so today, Amanda, we have a phenomenal, wonderful friend of mine who I'm fortunate enough to call friend first and foremost, who is joining us on the show. His name is KickedTripod, or John, if some people know him. He actually used to work for GoXLR, but now he is on a new venture, and I'm excited about what's happening with him and where he's going, and I cannot wait to see what he's gonna do next, because the man's phenomenal. So let's just bring him in now. John, how are you doing, buddy?
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm a ton of fun. Thank you for I'm a ton of fun. I'm excited for a ton of fun. I am a ton of fun. And yeah, there's good things coming. Thanks for the intro. About 7 years ago, I wanted to start a podcast. Didn't know how, knew nothing about audio. I was a musician, but I didn't know anything about recording audio. Started a podcast. Well, I didn't start a podcast, but I set a goal to, and ended up actually applying to be a host in a podcast called Well Met, which ended up growing and doing fairly well for itself. We branched off other shows, and kind of allowed me to go to TwitchCon to speak on a panel about podcasting on Twitch, because I think Twitch is an amazing platform for podcasting, and still, I think, really underutilized. And then I met Craig, my former boss, who's now, again, my current boss, I guess. And we helped launch and design the GoXLR and some other really cool products together. And then I'm now doing a show called Tactical Crouch, which is a competitive Overwatch podcast, and Spike Drop, which is a competitive Valorant podcast, where we, I've got a couple of co-hosts, Yiska and Volamel, who are amazing. They're like some of the biggest brains in those two esports. They're so smart. And so I'm very fortunate to be able to kind of guide those conversations and try to bring what I can to the production value side of things, and then help elevate their platforms as just really smart guys, excellent communicators.
You had mentioned previous to us jumping on here that you know a lot of the things that you're doing wrong potentially, and so I would actually love to go through a little bit of that with you and understand where you feel like some of your shortcomings are when it comes to the content and how you guys are producing on the show.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I will kind of preface it with saying, my own self knowledge is fallible. So some people will be like, I think you're awesome at that, and I see it as kind of like a potential area of opportunity. I'm not a perfectionist, but I know when I don't like something about my content, and I know when I'm not happy about what I'm going to put out, and it doesn't meet that standard.
I feel that
it's not perfection. I think perfectionists are liars when it comes to their content, because it's too difficult, or you can't be I don't think efficient enough unless you have a full team allows you to execute perfection every time, especially if you're on a time schedule. So I think I use production value and production quality as kind of a crutch. It's the more time I can spend on the things that I know I'm good at, the less time I have to spend being an excellent Overwatch analyst or an excellent watch every single Valorant match that I probably should. And so that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed, and I've even had to rebalance in myself, is how do I become an effective contributor to my shows and the shows that I'm on, versus how do I make the shows look and sound as amazing as I want, and when am I not hitting that right balance?
I just want to kind of understand what he does currently, and how so he was getting into how he actually has different channels for the different things, and explaining that. So if you want to continue that thought, I'd love to hear why you have them separated and what you do there.
Yeah, well, I've found that the communities for the shows are very passionate about those just Overwatch or just Valorant. My shows are not as person or host heavy as far as the draw as maybe some other shows were. Some things that are a little bit more casual, but we're a little bit more competitively focused. So I think that we understand correctly that using only our personals for this can kind of be, it kind of deludes who's following us for us and who's following us for this show and who's following us for that show. And of course, we retweet from those and quote tweet from our personal accounts, but it kind of helps keep things in their neat columns of like, this is John, the Valorant host. This is John, the Overwatch host. This is just John, the Peloton riding, cross-fitting son of a gun.
Yeah. So do you feel like in some senses your personal social media is a hindrance or a benefit to the shows that you're running?
I don't think that they hurt the shows in any way. I wouldn't like put them as a tangible benefit as much more as like a cherry on top. A little bit of extra reach, a little bit more. It helps. I mean, you know, the people who follow my, you know, I have like 3,000 followers on Twitter. That's not a huge amount by any means, but it's also not a small amount. If I'm approaching a brand and I show you my show's stats, my personal Twitter stats, I get kind of punched into the not huge, but like not worth throwing money at, if that's what we're looking for, if that makes sense. It's not a disqualifier. So I think it helps, but it's not like a core pillar of strategy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and the reason why I'm asking that is because we've talked to several different people that have multiple different channels, right? And so some people think that having their own personal actually hurts them, and they should have a separate brand from that. And so they have multiple different accounts, right? So because of that, it's kind of like, what, like, is it helping? Is it hurting? You know, what's the perception for you? Because everyone thinks differently. So if it's the cherry on the top, that's awesome, right? And then that's definitely something that you can, you know, continue to utilize because it helps build stuff out.
How do you go about pitching companies?
I always start with have a clean PDF one-pager. Clean PDF, have somebody design it, go to Fiverr, have an amazing one-pager with your stats and stuff. There are a minimal, even though numbers don't always matter, numbers still need to be present. Like, we brought a lot of the people who were, you know, 80 to 300 concurrent viewers over the people who were 300 to 1,200. We had a lot more in that smaller range because they understood their position. They positioned themselves really well, and they created a really great personalized plan for how they wanted to work with us. I try to put the conversation in a way that even if they say no to me, I can still have a relationship with that company moving forward. So finding out, is there a way that I can stay in touch with you guys? Like, do you have your own social media that I could follow or stay in touch in? Or like asking for critique, like, you know, what am I missing from my pitch? I think is sometimes okay, as long as you're not defensive about it.
So what you're saying is, if you know the brand and you understand the brand, you know your value and what you have to offer, and you do your research and develop relationship with the company, you could probably get a sponsorship.
Probably, yeah.
Revolutionary.
I know, nobody's ever thought of it.
It's just wow. I mean, you know, it's phenomenal.
It seems like such common sense. It's like one of those, you know, things that you read in a textbook and you're like, that makes sense, then you never do it.
Yeah, but you know, relationship sells.
That's such a win. Like, I being in a sales position, like, I love that feeling of like, oh my god, I did it. I made it happen.
All right. Well, we are transitioning into our next segment, guys. John, we really appreciate you being on and talking with us and being here and being the awesome, phenomenal person you are. Timbot, if you could please go ahead and link him in the chat one more time for us. Everyone go drop him a follow. Go watch his podcast if you're into Valorant or you just like him in general, because he's an awesome guy. Again, really appreciate you being here. We will be back here in just a few minutes with our next guest, Dr. Kristen. So
yeah, and while you guys wait, you should just check out our cool stuff, save up your little points, make us do some weird shit. At 200,000, you can make Torben do a TikTok with me. Do you understand?
Just no. We're just not, no.